Hello, creative people. Welcome to Creative Conversations. My name is Hala Citron, and I am so happy that you have chosen to spend this hour with us. It is an honor. I know that you have many other things to do, and I am so happy that you have chosen to be here with us. So, just a little background. This podcast was born from the mission of my company called I Am Creative, which is to expand the definition of creativity beyond a pencil and a paintbrush and to empower people, especially adults, to realize and own their talents, which come in so many different forms. And here in this space, I get to talk to so many incredibly inspiring people that have professions, hobbies, and interests that vary in so far and wide. Some examples are a biology professor, doctor, lawyer, actress, age alchemist, biohacker, which is this amazing hormone expert, and so many others. And then we dive into this discussion that revolves around three questions. One, how do you define creativity? Two, how do you incorporate it into your life? And three, why do you think that it's important? And then we have this free-flowing conversation, and we'll see where it goes. So my inspiring guest today is Kat Nemec. She's the owner and lead creative of studiokat, a graphic design firm specializing in brand and print work for nonprofits, hospitals, and cultural organizations. She has this amazing blog called Swooning, which is an incredible space where she shares her outlooks, feelings, and great sense of humor about serious topics and not so serious topics. And Kat says she would like to be remembered as someone who tried. I love that. Welcome to the space, Kat.
Hi,
Kat, can you
I'm
hear
here.
me? So there was so many cool things to say in your bio, but I know that there are a lot of things that we're going to end up talking about. So I edited a little bit, but I love how the last part of what you sent was that you would like to be remembered as someone who tried. So what I'm going to do is lead in with a would you rather question that I think connects well to that, and I'm curious to hear what you think.
Okie doke.
So would you feel worse if no one showed up to your wedding or your funeral?
Oh my gosh, definitely my funeral. My wedding, as you know, I married the boy next door in my dorm room, and we started dating when we were 19. And even during the wedding, as much as I remember looking out and seeing, the sea of amazing faces of all the people I love and cherish and adore, it was really between the two of us. Whereas a funeral, it's kind of like, especially if you die young, it's a testament to a little bit about what kind of person you were. So, you know, uh, isn't it All My Sons? Is that the one where the guy is like a traveling salesman and he just wants everybody to come to his funeral? I guess it's a little like that, where it's like, it's a testament. So definitely funeral.
Yeah. I knew you were going to say that, but yeah, I definitely agree. It was so sad. It's like my uncle passed, and not to focus on this, but my aunt didn't even have a funeral for him,
I know.
which is so bizarre.
I know.
And there would have been nobody that would have come.
Yep.
And
I
that made me so sad. Like, just that thought was like, wow.
Well, just hopefully you will never have to have that situation again. But as a graphic designer, I do a tremendous amount of events. And I will say a very sad thing that's come of the pandemic is that I've been doing virtual funerals and memorial services for people. And so that there is kind of a community that can come together and celebrate the life of somebody who has passed. So, that is a new thing that has come of this horrible situation, where people who might not have been able to come to a memorial service in the past because they live far away or whatever are actually being able to be involved. So I'm always a try to find the silver lining kind of person. It's been really hard in 2020, but I try.
It has, but at the same time, in having your health and all of that kind of stuff, I have seen a lot of scenarios where, like, somebody that I know, she lives in Colombia, and she had a opening for her book. And
Mhm.
instead, she was upset at first that she didn't have a regular book signing and reading, but then she realized she could invite people from all over the world to celebrate her, to celebrate with her while the book was just released. So she was like, who knew that I could be in Colombia and have my friend in Australia, California, Vermont, New Jersey, Texas, all these places be in the same space to be able to talk?
It's true. And I think that's going to be something that continues um, past this situation, because we all know this isn't going to go on forever. Things are going to, I don't think, ever be the same, but they will be. And there are going to be some good things that we pull from this, that I'm sure.
Definitely. Definitely. Okay, so it's going to be a good conversation. So let's dive into the first question, which is, how do you define creativity?
Yeesh.
A
It's
small.
a really hard word to define. Um, what it means for me, it's the ability to let go of the rules, of the stumbling blocks, of the doubt, and just try. And when it gets messed up and fails, you try again, and then you try again, and you brush it off and try it again. And you just keep trying and thinking out of the box and doing until you make something that brings you joy. And I think that, the whole Malcolm Gladwell thing of 10,000 hours, like, you're not going to be great at everything the first time you try it. And whether it's baseball or painting or felting or blogging, like, you have to just be okay with that. So I guess going back to trying, creativity to me is like trying and just keep redoing, and not being so hard on yourself.
That is such a great, it's such a great answer on so many levels. And I like when you said, when you mess up, basically the ability to let go of the rules, the doubt, and try when it gets messed up, when you fail, you keep trying. I mean, that's the important thing, is to know that it's going to happen.
Yeah, and be okay with it. Because I think that, especially having two 20 somethings right now who, their role models and the people that they see are their parents and their parents' friends and stuff. And we're all established, or kind of established, in our, 40s, 50s, and 60s. And they haven't seen the struggle. They haven't seen the struggle with marriages, with relationships, with jobs, with changing of careers. They haven't seen any of that. So they're just sort of seeing the kind of more steady point. And what I like to explain to them is like, oh, no, 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 no. Like, dad went back to school at 45, and my friend was a graphic designer and then a chef, and now she owns a promotion company, and then she's thinking of, like, creating a soup company. Like, it's all about trying new things and changing and, you know, getting that all out. So I don't even remember what the question was, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, the original question was, how do you find creativity? But when I pointed out the fact that you said specifically in that whole definition of when you mess up,
Hmm.
yeah, that it is all about trying. And when you mentioned that you have 20, you have two 20 somethings. I have a 20 something and a almost 18 something, and they've seen me since diving into my own company more recently. They're seeing a lot of the mess. Like, they're seeing, and I had another company too, which they saw a lot of that too. So we're kind of growing together and they're seeing a lot about stuff and we celebrate together. And then when things kind of don't work as much, we're like, they're saying, okay, how can we tweak that? And I think we've all been learning a lot.
It's awesome. The gift of failure, I think, is the greatest gift you can give a child growing up. I think, he'll kill me for talking about him too much, but when my son was getting resumes out, nowadays you send out resumes and they go into this void, like you don't hear back. It's just out into the ether. And my attitude was like, you send out 50 million, like, because something's going to stick, and you have more of a chance of something sticking if you send out so many, right? Even things that you're not 100% qualified for, because it can't hurt.
Right.
And in the end, it ended up working out for him after 2 years of trying. But that idea of like, if you don't try, you're not going to fail. That's true. But if you don't try, you're never going to succeed. You might fail 10 times, but you also might succeed. If you don't try at all, you're never going to succeed. So, I think that's an art school thing too. When a whole room of people are given the same assignment and everybody has to come up with, like 5 to 10 solutions for the same exact assignment. Mm-hmm. And then you put them up on a wall and you're critiquing each other's and you're getting criticism. You learn not to take stuff personally. So I think you're much more willing to kind of go out on a limb and try.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Yeah. I mean, it's true. I mean, we can speak about it from our art education experience. And yeah, it's true. There's that vulnerability of the same thing is the same objective is put out there, come up with these different solutions, write them down, create them in whatever medium that is, and then have a critique, kind of be judged, be able to stand in front of it and say, why?
Right.
And
it's huge.
And know that it's not personal. It feels personal at the time because sometimes people kind of go to the next level kind of thing and it can feel personal. But there's an art to it, I think.
And I think it's such a great, I think there are 2 life lessons, especially for women. Art school was one for me, to learn to have a thicker skin and be able to put myself out there and defend my work, but also take criticism on my work and be able to say, you know what, you're right. It could be better if I did X, Y, and Z. And the other was childbirth, because once you have, 7 doctors, 3 nurses, and 4 orderlies write up your business, there is nothing that will ever embarrass you again. So it's like this amazing gift of, it's all good. You can't embarrass me anymore. We're done. We passed both of those tests. So
I have to say, though, on the childbirth one, it's like in that moment, your whole neighborhood could be there and you don't care. You just want that, baby out. So
it is so true.
But
it is so true.
When you're not going through birth and I still have to go back for my yearly visit, I'm like, why, after all of these years of you seeing my stuff here, you delivering my child, is it still uncomfortable for me to move down on the table and go through this process?
Oh, it's so fun. It's not for me. I don't know. After the first one, I was just like, yep, come on up. Come on. Let's have a party. It's all good. So yeah, I mean, I tell my clients all the time when, if I'm presenting a new brand for someone, a logo for someone, I usually come up with 5 or 6 different ideas and I present them, and in the time when you could actually present something, and we would go through them. And I'd say, listen, anything that you don't like immediately, just turn over. And they look at me like, oh, like, oh, that would be so, like, I don't want to be so rude. I'm like, oh, no. You're paying me. You're allowed to not like anything. I don't think that's going to be the case, but you're allowed to not like any of these. That's a valid response. And it always works out, because then like the honesty starts flowing. So, you know, working in a creative field, and I think you know this too, versus being creative in my personal life, they're two completely different things.
Yeah.
And I would say I have a much thicker skin in my work life of creativity than I do in my personal life of creativity.
Well, that'll be an interesting topic too. Well, let me just ask that while we're there. Is that because do you not like? Is it what am I trying to say? In your personal life, is it that you don't care and it's like whatever, it's mine, judge me, whatever, or is it that you feel a little bit more vulnerable in your personal?
Oh, I definitely feel more vulnerable. I mean, so pre-pandemic Kat, there's so many layers here now with this pandemic, but pre-pandemic Kat, being creative person, I would feel very judged and very vulnerable, and I didn't want to show people things. But during the pandemic, when I didn't have very much work, graphic design work, and now I'm just like, yeah, I don't care. My family's healthy. I'm doing this for joy, and I need some joy, and it's really not about you. So I don't really care if you like it or not, because it's for me. And it's amazing how much better everything's coming out when you just do it for yourself. I think that's been a huge lesson for me.
Yeah. In saying that, that really is the key to everything. And it's not self saying in a narcissistic, like it's all about me, but it's like, this makes me happy. And
Correct.
I really don't care what you have to say about it, because it's my thing. And you don't, have to, you don't have to be a part of it. And
Yeah.
it's empowering.
Yeah, it really is. And I've always admired people. Um, I don't know if you know Joanna Goodman, but she's an amazing collage artist. And just her ease in she creates these really powerful women. They've been all over New York City subways, and I mean, they're everywhere. But they're collaging from old cool, groovy magazines, and they're usually women based, really strong women, and the palette and the colors and everything are just spectacular, and they come through such ease and such a confidence. And I've always loved them. Before she got famous, I loved them. And, it was always a dream of mine to be able to just do. And then I would watch my son's girlfriend, who's a painter. And she sees the world so differently. Everything is so cheery, and the colors so bright and vibrant and amazing. And she's just one of those people who walk into the room, and there's those people who suck the life out of a room. She's a person who just puts life into a room, joy. And she looks at bridges and Ferris wheels and the windmills out in the great fields, and she sees them in color. These things that are not in color, she sees everything in color. And it was amazing to me that she could just at such a young age put herself out there. And there's just a bunch of women, and it's usually women who have been very inspiring to me, to just let go and give it a try. And you know what? They've all been super supportive. When I post to Instagram or whatever, dopey, hand felted pig head or cactus or whatever. So supportive and so wonderful. And, after you get that first Instagram post up, the joy is just amazing. So I've learned from somebody my age, I've learned from, somebody who's 21, and that's been really refreshing.
Yeah, I love what you're saying about the word perspectives is just kind of like jumping to me. It's like getting all these perspectives from different people and their approaches, and understanding that everybody has a different lens. You could be looking at the same Ferris wheel and seeing totally different things.
Exactly.
And understanding that people have different perspectives and visions. But when I just really am enjoying what you're saying about it really coming from within you and that's where it's, to me, I guess it's authenticity. You're just being authentic when you're doing something that really feels good to you. And when you're felting, which this is getting into the second question of how do you incorporate creativity into your own life, but when you're felting like vegetables and animal heads and, these cute, silly animals, it's coming from a space in you that you're doing for a reason. Like you're not just doing it because someone told you to do it, you're doing it because you want to do it.
That's really funny because we just had this conversation. So I started felting just because it seemed very organic to me. People kept saying, well, how do you know what to do? And how do you know where to poke? And I'm like, I don't know. I just get a bunch of felt and then a penguin comes out. I don't know how it happens. It just happens. And then I started posting them, and people started saying like, "Oh, I want a donkey, and I want a hen, and I want a this, and I want a that," and I became terrible at it. Terrible. I mean, it was torture. So after a dear friend asked for a donkey, and my husband he's an illustrator, and he would walk in the room and go, it kind of looks like a deer. And I'd be like, this is not why I'm doing this. I have 50,000 holes in my thumb, and it is not to do this for other people. And so I stopped. I just completely stopped. And I started baking pies, and I started doing other things. And I'm just coming back to felting because I've said, I am not making these for other people. If I decide to give them as a gift, that's one thing, but I am not taking commissions. That's not what this is about, because my whole mental space was terrible as soon as it was a commission. They were terrible.
Yeah. It's you have to meet these because it's this expectation. It's this rule of, and you want to make it like these emotions of wanting to make people happy, and all of this kind of stuff starts getting involved, and that's just, it's a lot, which actually is so much about the mission of my organization, in a sense, where it's people get kind of stuck in the rules of what they think they should be doing or in life, and they kind of put themselves to the side and forget what really makes them happy.
And I think that is the gift of what you're doing. You and I talked at a party once, and I just walked away feeling like there's just so much goodness pouring from this woman. Like, she is just such a positive energy, and the world, and this was pre-pandemic. I mean, we were so lucky to get that one last party in, but it was very telling to me that you were just like this positive force, and you started talking about your business, and it was amazing. And never once did I think we would be chatting live about it, but I 100% agree with you that if people could just let go of the rules. It's funny, there's a good story about that. So the way I was creative when I was working 14 to 16 hours a day at my graphic design firm, which I am no longer doing because the work doesn't exist, my husband and I would get very involved with the high school play. And he would do all the sets, and I would do the props. So I would be actually making things with my hands, and it was amazing. Trays of hors d'oeuvres and cotton candy and all kinds of just amazing stuff for these high school plays. One of the things I had to do was make a beast for Beauty and the Beast that would rise above the stage and twirl and twirl in and turn into the actual prince. So the beast had to match exactly the beast that was on stage because it was a little bit of magic. And so I had the women who were the costume ladies make 2 exact of the same beast costumes. Okay, so now how do I fill this costume? I call the kid. I get the kid to give me old clothes of his that I'm going to fill because they're the same size and they'll fit into the beast costume perfectly. So what do you fill this with? Like, how do you make a beast that doesn't look like a lump? So I figured armature wire and bubble wrap, because bubble wrap is kind of like um, muscle, and it's super light. And this has to raise like, like 30 feet in the air.
So much
So,
problem solving
so
going
much
on.
fun, right? So
Yeah,
much fun.
yeah.
So much fun. All over my dining room table. It was a mess. It was awesome. So we're doing this. We make this beast. We get the boots. We have the whole thing. We now have rods in there of PVC piping in order to make certain parts of it more stiff. We have the wig. We cover the face with the hairy wig. It's all good. And now I have to rig it. And I'm like, okay, now my skill set is like done. I cannot rig this on top of making it. So I bring my beast in, and there are 2 guys, and one is valedictorian he's going to be the valedictorian of the high school, and he's going to go to Harvard, and super engineering smart guy. And I bring the beast up and he goes, how did you know? Who taught you how to make this? How did you know how to make this? And this is pre-Google, like literally type in how do you make a fake beast costume for Beauty and the Beast. It's pre all that. And I'm like, I just tried a million different things. And like when this didn't work, I tried that. When that didn't work, I tried this. He was like, my mind is blown. And I was like, and this girl who barely got out of high school because she was too busy being naughty is, never went to Harvard. But this kid was all about the rules. He was all about the rules. Like, I can read this instruction manual. I can read this textbook. I can get a perfect score on my SAT because I do the guidebooks, I do the rules, I follow the rules, and I get 100%. Yeah. And I think as a creative, I'm completely the opposite, which is I get messy and I get dirty and I try and I fail and I do the best I can. And after you do it 3 or 4 times, you're going to come up with a solution.
Yeah.
But it was really nice that the valedictorian. I mean, I was 35 years older than him, but it didn't matter. It felt good.
Well, it does, and it really just goes to prove. I mean, there's something to be said for the right side of the brain, the left side of the brain, the way people, everybody brings something to the table in the way that they do. But yeah, I mean, going back to what you said about art school and speaking from our experience of being given, and really in any kind of business, any kind of situation, you're given an objective and you have to solve it.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of how you go about doing it. And I think that the enthusiasm too, it's like the feeling that you carry with it, to me makes a difference as well. Like if you're like, oh God, I have to come up with 10 different ideas on how to do this, or I have to come up with 10 different ideas on how to do this. Like it feels different.
Exactly. And the idea of like being in a group and collaborating. Like I think one of the most important things in the world is collaboration, because you take a little bit of you, a little bit of you, a little bit of you, and if you take the best of all 3 of these people, you're going to get like this superhuman solution. Whereas, and that's why when I do take on a new thing, even a recipe, trying a new pie, I'll look up, 15 different pie recipes, and then I'll read the reviews. And, somebody's like, yeah, I put in a little bit of extra salt, or I took out this, or I did that. And then you kind of make your own from all of the information and all the research that you've done, because a collaboration is always going to be better than just following one set of rules. So, and then when people say like, how did you make this pie? I'm like, I have no idea. I could never tell you.
Right. Yeah, it's those, grandmother's recipes and whatever as you go along. And it's just like, they didn't write things down. They just like added things, put a little dash of this, a little dash of that, and you get this yummy something.
Exactly. Like my mom always tells us, she's an amazing cook, amazing. And she'll be like, "You put in a serving spoon of this," and I'm like, "Mom, how big is a serving spoon?" She's like, "You know, the salad tossing spoon's one of those." Okay, I know what that means, but I can't really tell my friends what that means when they're trying to make stuffed grape leaves. Like, that's just not going to fly for the currents.
It adds the mystery to the whole thing.
True. Very true.
So then, yeah, so then tell us about some other things. So you incorporate creativity into your life. You said felting, cooking. Anything else you want to add to that?
So I think that, it was funny. When I graduated from college, I had a job right after school. I was very fortunate. Showed my
Wow.
portfolio once. Yeah, it was one of those like miracle things. And my parents were like, "Well, you know what we thought? We thought you could get in touch with like cousin blah blah and become a television producer." And I'm going, "Wait, I majored in graphic design and I have a job. So I'm not quite sure where this is going, but thank you for the advice." But you know what? When you look back, um, and I can feel both ends of this, having 20 something kids and being a parent. You do know what's right for your kids. And my parents were right. I'm really good at and I love producing things. So whether it's a huge craft fair where people come and do a ton of different crafts, or it's a local neighborhood guy who has a great idea to do a community puzzle where it's like a scavenger hunt puzzle, and he creates the whole thing, but he just doesn't know how to kind of get it done. Or the play when they do a Disney production, when you do a production of The Little Mermaid, you need a producer who keeps all of the creative elements in sync. Um, that's what I do. And I love it. I absolutely love it. So this year I've been producing a lot of family holidays virtually, just so that we have something fun going on, since my son's in California. And my nephew got married, and we needed to some kind of unifying fun thing for that out in South Dakota. And since we couldn't go, we all wore tattoos that my husband designed.
Oh,
So we had temporary tattoos. Even grandma and grandpa in Iowa were wearing temporary tattoos. So just like we still had a virtual Easter egg hunt for my son and his girlfriend, which was awesome, which ended up he could not figure out how we were going to get the Easter basket to him. And thank goodness for Venmo, because as soon as they found the last clue, they were Venmo'd their Easter baskets. So just like thinking out of the box in order to make this year as normal as it can be. We play the Armenian egg cracking game, Ukrainian egg cracking game, Eastern European egg cracking game, whatever you want to call it, where at Easter, it's very vicious and you crack each other's hard-boiled eggs and there's a winner at the end. And so how do we do that with, 5 different families all over the country? It's been fun. It's been really fun to take on the next holiday and make it enjoyable for everyone. So I would say that is taking a lot of my creative juices this year.
that is just like I want. How did he make the tattoos?
Oh, it's easy. It's like temporarytattoo.com. It's no big deal. It's Greg. He's an illustrator.
Yeah.
So my nephew is a big tattoo guy. So we did a kind of Dia de los Muertos, bride and groom with the kids' initials in the middle. And that was especially good on grandma and grandpa because now they're skulls. It's not like a flower, and little hearts. They have full on Dia de los Muertos skulls on them. And then I got all the addresses from my sister-in-law for all of the family members, her side of the family and his side of the family, and I sent them out secretly. And then during the Zoom, we were all wearing the tattoos, and the tattoos were sent to the wedding. They had a backyard wedding. And so they had them, and now they have extras for, hopefully they'll be able to have a reception at some point, and they have all the rest of them for the reception. So yeah, you do what you do.
But you're like an event planner. Like this is,
Yeah,
you're like
I
planning
love it.
You're
I
like
love it.
planning these things which are, uh, you're you're thinking outside the box and making it fun. Like even if there wasn't a pandemic going on, like these are things that I think are truly unifying, because having people live all over the country, for you, it's, you wouldn't be, somebody'd have to get on a plane and be together and whatever. So these are still ways in whatever time we're living in that would make things fun and interactive and
Well,
enjoying each other.
we've done that. That's just kind of been my MO forever. Like our kids' birthday parties had a minimum of 30 kids. And, whether it was a dinosaur dig where they literally dug up foam core dinosaurs and then put together a 9-foot dinosaur, or, you know, um, uh, you know, bloody, disgusting scars and makeup party for like when they were ghoulish, or a poker party. We had a poker party once that was great. Or my daughter had a teeny tiny party where, we made these huge props. So they had huge playing cards so that they looked teeny tiny, and huge dice. Like we've always done this and we've always loved it. And our kids are old, so we can't really do it for them anymore, except we're kind of a weird gaming kind of family. So my son designs games. So we're always kind of coming up with these unifying family things. Greg's dad is one of 17 and his mom is one of 9. And
17?
yeah, it's crazy.
Oh my God.
And like, so it's always been like big families. He has 5 brothers and sisters, and then they have their kids, and then they have their boyfriends and girlfriends. So at the last reunion, it was, I don't know, 25 people. And, we're always, especially my son and I, are always coming up with different ways to kind of have fun together.
Yeah.
So I would say that's probably the other way that I am creative, is with like this whole event planning, if that's what you want to call it. But it's more just like about building community, and I make art shows for the community. I try to connect people. Like I think people want to be connected. I think people want to enjoy each other. And I think that, if there's somebody willing to go, hey, you should meet this person because you guys, I know, would get along great, I'm happy to do that. And I think the world is a better place when we do that, when we connect.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's such an important thing, and it's so amazing that you are that, because it's key connection. Even like you just, as you were talking, I was thinking about like being in the classroom and teaching, like the kids that would be the most behaviorally stuff going on. It was really about connection. Like they wanted obviously some kind of attention in some way,
Right.
But when you stopped and really thought about it, it boiled down to connection. Whether they wanted attention from you, whether they wanted attention from another person, whether they wanted to be heard. And then when you gave them the ability to have the connection to be able to, I mean, you figure out when you give the attention and you don't, but in the grand arching thing, it's kind of like when you listen and find out what it is, it always boils down to wanting to be connected.
I totally agree. And if we could just do that, the world would be a better place.
Yeah.
It is, yeah. I agree.
So, okay. So let's move on to the third question, which is, why do you think that creativity is important?
I think we already answered that. I think it's important Because I think that it brings joy, and that when you create something for yourself that you show to other people, that is a connection and it brings joy. But when you create something for a larger group, I've been watching the phenomenon of Schitt's Creek, and I started watching it and I hated it. I think these
Thank
people
you. I haven't gotten past the first one, so yeah.
Okay, yeah, you got to get past it.
Okay.
So I called my son. My son was like, "You will love this," and I watched it, and I was like, "This is so sad because we don't know each other at all. If you think I would love this, we don't know each other. I mean, this is a kid I drove across the country with. We know each other." So he was like, "Mom, stick it out. Remember, you did this with Parks and Rec. You can do this. Stick it out. You got to get 3 to 5 in. If you get 3 to 5 in, I'm telling you, you're going to love it." I loved it. I loved it. It's about family. It's about connection. It's about figuring out who you are. It's about parents who have made mistakes. And I don't know if you're here yet. I don't know if you'll ever get here. But I am a parent who has made so many mistakes.
Oh my God!
And I
yes.
own my mistakes. And my dad passed of cancer years ago, and on his deathbed, some of the last words he said to me, and I'm sure this is why this is what I'd like to be remembered for, was like, "Your mom and I did the best we could." And I was like, that is the best piece of parenting advice anybody could ever have, because that's all you can do. Here you have, like, A, you've never raised a human being before. B, you start to figure out one, and then another one comes along and they're completely different. And you're supposed to do this with somebody else who was raised a completely different way than you were. So it's an unholy mess. And you know what? If you get by with everybody surviving, I think thumbs up for you. You've done great. So I'm watching Schitt's Creek, and I'm like, you know what? This is great, because these are really flawed people. These are people with so many flaws. But there's an underlying love there. And there's an underlying, like, goal for people to be the best that they can, and to change and to try and to do. So watching that show has been really life-changing for me. And then, more important, watching the interviews with Dan Levy talking about how he did it with his father and his sister and his father's friends, like people who have been coming to his home forever, and how much respect his father had to just let his kid do his thing, and his kid be in charge. And that respect for somebody's child is just overwhelming for me. So the idea that we can create things, and we can respect our elders and the younger generation, which I think are so much smarter than we are, and we can make this kind of universal thing, I think it's the goal for the future. I mean, I think we're at such a weird part in the world right now where we're all realizing what's going on, and the way it's been going isn't working. So we need to figure out how to think out of the box to create the next version of the United States and of the world. And hopefully together, through creativity, through trying, through, being inspired by others, through listening to all generations, we can do that. I don't even know if I answered your question.
Whew, my God, yes, you did. That was a really great rampage. Nice job.
Sorry, I'm a ranter.
It was really, really good. But as you said the word respect each other, the word came to me also, trust. but it's kind of interwoven with that whole trying things and all of that. When you try, you're trusting that you will get to that next stage. You will get to that place that you want to be. You will get to that solution that you want. And when you're trusting your kids, you're trusting that the decisions that they make, will be ones that will serve them.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. I think that's a beautiful word, and I think it's a really hard word for parents. For people, I think we're kind of an instant gratification universe,
Yeah.
and I on my blog, I actually just did a swoon about anticipation. And we don't really need to have that feeling of waiting and wanting and anticipating anymore. We just don't. And, when you hear about success stories, a lot of people who are super successful will talk about the 5, 10, 15, 20 years where they were floundering around, trying all kinds of different things. And, you don't really hear about it that much, but then when you hear about it, you're like, oh, that makes me feel a little bit better that it wasn't instant gratification. And I
Right.
think, it goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning. Like, everybody didn't have everything figured out, and everybody still doesn't have everything figured out. And it's okay to trust, great word, that eventually what's meant to be will happen. It's only going to happen if you're trying and if you're working hard. I'm not a believer in like sitting back and waiting for it to happen. You better try.
Yeah.
But trust, it's a great word. And I think, it's a great word for me. Like, I have to trust that I'm going to get my work back. That the world might come back to normal, and I might get my work back, and that my kids will follow their dreams and figure out where they want to go. It's a great word.
Yeah, it's putting a lot, it's faith, it's like all these things, and then also seeing how things sometimes need to change. It's that tweaking, it's that awareness of, okay, how do I adapt myself to the situation? This is the situation. What changes need to happen? And the trying.
Yep. And
And
how can we support other people who, we did grow up in very supportive households and we knew that we could have an education if we wanted one. And we kind of knew that anything we needed was always out there for ours in the taking. And how do we support people who might not have all of these gifts just basically handed to them? Because I think that's this new world that we're coming into, is acknowledging that, the luck of the uterus, like the luck of the draw. You did nothing to get into the uterus that you were born into. So how do you make the most of the situation you were born into? And how do you extend your hand to help others who were not born into that situation? Like, that's really big for me right now, is acknowledging that was luck. It was nothing other than luck where I was born.
and like, I'm thinking of the word competition. It's like kind of taking that word out of this whole competitiveness and understanding that awareness of community and understanding that we're in this together. It's like a domino effect.
Totally. 100%. 100%. Because as soon as you start doing stuff, and somebody once said to me, you volunteer just because you want people to thank you. And I'm like, well, no, that's 100% not true. But I do volunteer, and I do a lot of community stuff because it feels good. So the truth of the matter is, yes, it is 100% self-serving, because it feels really good to work together as a team to make something good for the better of a community.
Right.
100%. And I think the more people who reach out and do stuff like that and get that feeling of like, wow, that felt really good. We made so many people happy. We bettered people's lives. The more people that feel that, and it really is a selfish feeling, the better the world will be.
Well, it's that whole where you're saying, people may think it's hippy drippy, but it's like, your vibration, raising your high vibration, a low vibration, high vibe, low vibe. When you're not feeling good, you're in a low vibe. When you're feeling really happy and joyful, you're in a high vibe. And when you're happy and joyful and that higher vibe, then it's contagious and it's emanating out. And then you're wanting to connect with other people. You're wanting to be of service. You're wanting to share more because you're feeling good.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
It just is. It's kind of it sounds all like pie in the sky, but it really it's so easy, but yet it's not.
Yeah, and it's especially hard right now because it's very hard to be part of a community when you're not supposed to leave your house. But there are still a lot of ways to be involved with things. And I do feel, and it's the same about being creative, whether it's giving back to the world or being creative. Once you're able to get out of your comfort zone and give it a try, and maybe you fail, and it didn't kill you to fail. Once you realize that, once you realize that nothing horrible comes from failure, it makes trying the next time that much easier. And then you get that much better. And that's where the growth comes in.
Yeah. There's a really great podcast also called How to Fail with Elizabeth Day. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
No, that sounds great.
Yep. How to Fail with Elizabeth Day. And she interviews her guests, and it's all about, how did you fail?
Yep.
Because people don't like to talk about that necessarily, but there's so much conversation. It's just like all that we've been saying this whole time, and you brought this up, and I just love it, is you have to fail, which is trying in order to be able to get to that point that you want to be at. It's that whole idea of contrast. You have to realize what you don't want to know what you do want.
Totally. 100%. That's great. I'm totally going to look that up and share it.
Yeah. So it's really, really wonderful. So before we sign off, because we are at the top of the hour, please tell people where they can find your blog and whatever else you want them to know.
Oh, that's so sweet.
It's so fun. Yeah.
So my blog is swooning, swooning.me, swooning.me. And I'm very in touch with being able to feel my feels and post when I feel like posting and not post when I don't feel it. A lot of the swoons are about growing up as a 1970s kid, or being a parent, or being a designer, or a wife and a mother and a friend. They're usually a little bit silly. As my mother said the other day, she was laughing, and I said, "What are you laughing at?" She's like, "I'm reading your swoon." She goes, "I never know what's going to come out of your mouth next." So that's kind of fun. You would never know what was going to come out next. And I'm really enjoying writing. And then on Instagram, I think I'm Kat Nemec. And my business is studiokat, studiokatinc.com. My website hasn't been updated in 50 million years because, shoemaker shoes kind of thing. And so I'm around, and Hollis, this has just been so lovely, and you are such a talent and such a gift to the world, and I thank you for inviting me.
Oh, thank you. I have so enjoyed talking to you, and all of the everything that you had said as far as getting in touch with Kat is all going to be listed in the bio of this podcast, so people will be able to see it and click on the links. And I just love your openness and your honesty and your your approach, it's fun, but a seriousness, and it's playful yet serious. And I think that's what's so wonderful about your blog and what's so needed. It's all about sharing stories, and that's what in this space I'm trying to create, is a space of connection, inspiration, and sharing of stories, because we all have them.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah, so please like, follow, share, and check out Kat, and check out more about I'm Creative. And just so happy that, Kat, you've chosen to spend the hour, and all the listeners have chosen to spend the hour with us. And yeah, appreciate you very much.
Well, thank you, Hollis. You have a great night.
Okay, everybody, have a great night.
Take care.
Bye.